long time, Roxanne. So what do you think? So what do you think's been happening in the Republican Party this week? Anything?
Let's see. Well, of course, Cruz is winning right now because of everything that happened with Trump, of course. And it was funny, the picture they showed today, he colored his hair. I just thought that was funny. Changed his hairstyle. Trump, he must have put on a different toupee. But I did like what happened. I saw something on a tweet about MSNBC showed about Kasich that he spoke to some disabled people all by themselves after one of his conferences.
Oh, there we go. So
Yeah.
what's the significance? You don't think Mr. Trump would ever speak to any disabled individuals then, do you?
Oh, shoot, no.
No. All right.
No.
So,
he has to have people there that fight.
Yeah, true. Basically, Meet the Press, they were talking, I don't know if you saw, did you see Meet the Press, Roxanne?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
I'm the only poor devil there to watch that. Basically, they were talking about the Speaker, Speaker of the House, I forgot his name. They were really saying that there was some clear signs that the Republican establishment was really seriously looking at Ryan. It's Ryan, isn't it? They were looking at Ryan as a possible last-minute candidate, because even though publicly they've been supporting more and more Lying Ted, and they're not. They actually fear, in some ways, they fear him as much as they fear Mr. Trump. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely trying to draw up some form of plan for a brokered convention. So what's your thoughts about all this, Mike? Do you think if they went for a broker convention that they could, in any shape or form, pull it off?
Well, I don't know enough about it to really to really give an opinion about that, but I am the question.
That never stops me, Mike.
Yeah, the question maybe too, to throw back at you, do either of you believe that any of the people running right now will even be the candidates on either side?
Go on, Roxanne, what do you think?
I'm sorry, my daughter came up here and made me laugh. What was the last thing?
Could you say it again, Mike?
I just kind of threw out there, do either of you or anyone else who's listening in here believe that any of the candidates right now that are running on either side will be the nominees when it comes to the election come November?
Not the Republican side. I think if Trump gets it, they'll do all they can to choose somebody else.
Yeah. Christine, I see Christine. We love another lady to join our empty seat. Come on, Christine, you must have some. Please join us. We like the female perspective on this, rather than two old white males here. One's really good looking, and the English guy that's particularly ugly.
Come on, Kristen.
Go on, Christine, join us. My take on it, I think they definitely. I'd be really surprised if it doesn't go to a brokers' convention. Obviously, there's really a strong attempt to find some solution that won't implode the Republican Party at that convention, which will still have the outcome which the establishment of the party wants, which seems quite clear, not to have Mr. Trump as the official Republican presidential candidate in November. That seems to be the clear path. I don't think it's achieved. Well, it certainly could be achieved that they managed to get another candidate. What I mean by not achievable is for that not to result with the kind of massive implosion of the party. I don't think that would be possible. I think it would almost guarantee the election of whoever the Democratic candidate would be. So in some ways, I think this is only my take, Mike. I'm sorry to be a bit long-winded here, but I've come to the conclusion that what this really is about is it's a political judgment call of the Republican establishment. Are they going to lose more Senate and Assembly seats by having Ted or Mr. Trump as a candidate, or would they keep more seats and still allow a Democratic candidate to win the actual presidential election, but still be able to keep more seats in the Senate? And I know that sounds strange, but I think it's really coming down to that kind of political calculation. Was that waffling, Mike, or did that make any sense?
Hey, it makes as much sense as everything else that's going on. I mean, and when you'd mentioned Ryan, I don't remember what was his issue. I mean, why did he? There was some reason he had stopped even before, that there was something that kept him from running, and I don't remember what it was. And then he eventually got the seat that he's in now that he didn't want to take. But there was something that happened, and I don't remember what it is. I don't know if either of you remember what it was that he did, or something that happened that really kind of curtailed his involvement in running for president.
What?
Well,
Didn't it have something to do? I'm sorry.
I think it's to do with sanity, actually.
Well, he's making too many exercise videos holding a Starbucks, I think. Wasn't that it?
What are you holding?
Oh, yeah. But Jonathan's not doing exercise videos, but
go on, Roxanne. What do you
No,
think?
I think it was to keep the Republican count, higher in the Congress, wasn't it? Or because of because of the Democratic presidency, wasn't it?
Well, he didn't want the speaker seat too either. There was something that
but that was the only reason he took it, was because of the even out the count, because it was a Democratic president, wasn't it? Maybe.
No, well, yeah. I said I don't know. There was something that happened before, and then I do remember that there was a reluctance on his part to take the speaker seat.
I mean, that's the only reason he took it, I thought.
Which he did, because people wanted him to, but there was something going on. So I don't know. So
yeah, they were talking. It was kind of tickle tackle from the journalistic Washington establishment, kind of. But he did this promotional video from the speaker department, and it really did look very much like a kind of. He was talking about Americans must all come together, blah blah blah, and it really did come across as a kind of. I'm trying to find the right words here. It really came across as a kind of presidential kind of semi-pitch to the So I think we kind of you've had my bit and you've had Roxanne. Shall we move on to the Democratic Party? So Bernie won in Wyoming by I think by 10-11%, and this is his seventh or eighth straight victory in a row. Where do you think, in the next 10 days we've got New York coming up, which is the biggie. It looks like it's getting uglier. The language between Hillary and Bernie is getting a bit ugly now. Mm-hmm. How do you think things have gone so far, Mike? And where do you think the New York implosion's going to go?
Well, a couple of things, and I know I've had this argument. Well, not really an argument, but this discussion with Bill a couple of times. Is when is the hammer going to come down on Hillary? and he seems to think that it is. I even though I'm on the Republican side, I don't think it will. So because Obama's going to have to be involved with that to happen. So. But let me see if this will play, because I don't know if you saw Saturday Night Live last night. But
we always got to have a bit of Saturday Night Live, haven't we?
Let's see. Heads down. Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna turn the recording off.
But, thank you for that. So what struck me, Mike, is that the kind of centralised media. The fact is, this is her 7th straight loss. Yet, without her crony, what do they call them? I'm looking for the 200 vote, the 200 delegates.
The super delegates.
The super delegates. Without but this is the 7th primary that she's lost. But they're still saying that Bernie doesn't stand any chance. Blah blah blah. What do you make of it?
Well, that's where he goes back. I don't even understand it. I'm completely baffled at the math. And I didn't. And then here's the other part of it is I didn't realize that she'd lost 7. I mean, I've not been paying that close attention, but normally,
I don't think she is either.
Yeah.
Well,
but you have just with being on Facebook, you walk past the TV, you're going to see this stuff. But man, they've just kept it on the QT. I mean, people aren't even aware that she's, at least, I wasn't aware that she had lost the last 7, caucuses or whatever.
So Roxanne, how many of these primaries does she have to lose before she loses total credibility?
I don't know why, but for some reason they split Wyoming down the middle. He got 7 and she got 4 or something like that for the numbers. Why? How is that?
Well,
just because they wanted to.
Well, it's not the business party, is it? So the math's never been that great, Roxanne. So
yeah, but I mean, however, why doesn't he get the whole state or whatever if he got most of the votes and she didn't?
It's proportional representation, but he still won by 11 points. And yeah, she might deserve some of them, but she almost managed to get as many seats as him. Mm-hmm. Which I think what it is, Roxanne, and I'll be totally incorrect here, they actually, the block that she won was also including 5 super delegates. That had already said whatever happened, the actual people's voice in Wyoming, we don't care SHIT about. We're still gonna vote for the witch. So that's interesting that your actual state caucus actually resoundingly vote for the opposition, but you as a super delegate say it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to vote for the witch. It's quite interesting.
It doesn't make sense.
Not to a person born in England, it makes no sense at all. But
that's ridiculous.
So Mike,
sorry, I don't understand that.
So that's it. I said I've been pretty attuned to and following politics for a long time, and I've just never seen the number crunching and the ignoring of voters like we've seen in these primaries.
Yeah. So how do you see? What's your feelings about New York, Mike? Do you think Bernie stands a chance of victory?
I don't know how much of it, because he's from the East, if that's going to have any influence, or, the fact that, Clinton was the senator there, which I don't know if she ever stayed there overnight during the time that she was a senator, but.
That's quite good, Mike. It's probably true as well. It's very unlikely. I think she moves around a lot. When you're a lying, no good piece of.
Well, she was like.
You do have to move around a lot, don't you?
What's his name? The one of the terrorists. Never slept in the same. Never slept in the same.
You got to move around a lot. The Clintons have always. They're always moving really somewhere, aren't they?
Constituents. Well, I read something today that JFK Jr. was looking at that seat, and then mysteriously dies in a plane crash. So.
You've been watching too much InfoWars, Mike. So basically, Roxanne, how do you see New York? Do you think the burn's going to hit Heery on the backside? Do you think Sanders stands a chance?
I wish, but probably not.
Oh, why do you say that?
Because that's. I guess I'm being pessimistic.
Yes. Well, she still has the lead.
Yeah.
I actually don't know how much of a lead, but the opinion polls prior to these elections ain't exactly been the most insightful, really. Some of them have been 20 points out plus. So how much you can take any notice of them at all? Obviously, I'm not. Obviously, her victories have come, unfortunately, from the black and seemingly from the Hispanic community. How large that is? Because am I correct in saying, obviously, New York City is very large, but the rest of the actual is rural and very different to the actual city of New York. Is that correct, Mike?
Well, you get all the way to would be the west. You have Buffalo, which is probably a couple 100,000, maybe 250,000. I'm sure there's probably some other, but obviously the city of New York City is by far where the majority of the population is. I think, frankly, the election, they already know who's going to win it. So I think it's just a formality to go through because it's already been determined when they start throwing in the super delegates and everything else. And, at this point, I wonder if they even count the votes.
I actually don't agree. I see signs in Heery and also her husband I see signs of them being rattled. And I see their internal polls showing that they've got problems. And that I just sense, it's just a gut feeling, Mike, and I might be totally wrong here. I just sense that they're rattled. And obviously, New York City's got a very large Jewish population. Obviously, Mr. Sanders is Jewish. Mm-hmm. Obviously, his support for Israel, I wouldn't say he's questionable, but he is, but on the other hand, the Israeli government, compared to previous Israeli government, is one of the most right-wing in tone and action. So there's a lot of variables going there. So
here comes Bill.
Here comes the wizard. So there seems to me, Mike, that there's a lot of variables going on.
I think it'd be huge. I mean, if he did, that would be a very significant state to win if he did.
So, what do you think?
You have to take into consideration age too.
In what context?
Because now Sanders, he has the younger generation. They say of who's voting for him. So I don't know the age range. More New York,
So shall we go on to? I don't know if you saw it. Her husband's kind of rant at that rally where he was confronted with his voting record and her voting record on in the 90s, where she spoke about young black as super criminals. I can't. I'm probably not got the language totally correct, but he was confronted with some demonstrators that pointed out his own record as president with putting in a bill that really dramatically increased the amount of black individuals that were in long-term prison, in prison for long terms. And he went on a bit of a rant. Did you see this at all, Mike? This rant?
I'd heard about it. I didn't know why. I didn't read about it. I'm not a big Bill Clinton fan, so I mean, I
Nor am I, but I forced myself. Myself, Mike.
I did not dig into it that much. I just it does fuel what you were saying, that he's maybe his part of it was the frustration of what was going on with their campaign, and that was just something that might have tipped him off a little bit. That he could have been kind of the beat the dog theory. Where
I think he just got so the actual arrogance of the actual electorate to actually show his horrendous voting record and the total hypocritical president which he was. He's got every right to get upset, hasn't he? I'm sorry, Mike, that was a bit of English sarcasm there. Roxanne, what was? Did you see it at all?
I heard about it. Yeah, I heard about it, but I did see where Hillary went off on the lady. In the one of the
Greenpeace lady that pointed out taking $2 million of support money from the oil industry doesn't exactly well for your independence on the subject. She had the audacity to point that out to Hillary, didn't she?
She did, yeah. Man, she made her go off, started pointing the finger at her and everything.
She did. She got the wagging finger from the witch, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
Yes. So, did you see that one, Michael? Have you been hiding yourself totally from the madness?
I did not hear that one about Hillary. I said you know what? The most I've listened to her is when she's imitated on Saturday Night Live. That's about as much as I can take.
Yeah, I don't blame you, actually, Mike. I don't actually seeing even a representation of her starts to make me feel a bit queasy.
Yeah.
But there we go. I don't know we're going to take this. So let's, I think we kind of covered some of the weekly highlights. Shall we discuss what you see, Mike? What do you see? I think I'd like to ask a two-part question here of both of you. What's your sense of the actual emotional place of the electorate? And secondly, what are some one or two key policies that you think are going to decide these elections in both parties and maybe the election itself?
Mm-hmm.
Go
Roxanne,
on, Mike.
I'll let you go first.
Oh, you're going to hear Roxanne go.
Me? Go ahead.
So what do you see as what's the emotional feeling of the electorate general? How do you see it, Roxanne? Oh.
Well, right now, with Hillary, she's upset. The emotional side. The emotional side, and Bernie's feeding off of it.
Yeah, and what do you personally see as one or two of the real important issues of what is kind of driving the electorate?
Well, everybody's still wondering about all of the emails from Hillary.
Do you think do you honestly feel that that's really a major policy consideration in the electorate, Roxanne?
It is for me. Of course, I'm not going to vote for either one of them anyway, but if she makes it, I mean, what's she going to tell other people?
Well, so she'll go on to Mike then. So, Mike, what do you see as a couple of the most major issues that's driving the electorate at the present moment?
That's driving. I think the issues have been buried so far down, and this, and more of the comedic aspect of this on both sides with everybody. From juvenile confrontations to each other, to name calling, to Twitter feeds, to it's like a bunch of junior high kids, running for student council.
Don't forget the pictures of the wives.
Of course. Yeah. It's never in American politics. It's never been noted for its policy discussion. So I welcome in Bob. So Bob, the first question. The first question of the evening, Bob. What do you see as the two major policy questions that are driving the contest at the present moment?
Hasn't changed anything. It's still border control, illegal immigration, and ISIS. it's all about national security. It's still about that. And it's also about how stupid the American voters are. I mean, if you look at, Colorado, I guess they're not even let the voters vote. They're just going to give all those delegates to Cruz. I think it's idiotic. And then you look at in the Bernie side, Hillary's doing the exact same thing.
Uh-huh.
She's stealing all the delegates. And Bernie's won 8 in a row. And
8 in a row, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I slightly disagree with you, Bob.
No.
Surprise. But I see. I think was it Ronnie Reagan. He was asked, might be him. He said, "What's the election about?" He said, "Well, it's the economy, stupid." I see the main driver, which is the same in most elections. It's that the common man and woman hasn't benefited from the slight upturn in any shape or turn. I think it's job insecurity, lack of getting a better job, better money, job security, and to some extent immigration. I do agree with you. Immigration
equal, because if you listen to the African American community, they say that the Mexicans are taking the Black Americans' jobs. So it is all about the same with border. We need to make sure we have that border there. And
I just think the economic drivers are more.
How can that be? 7.5 years of Democrat leadership in this country. Isn't everybody full employment? Everybody's working. Times are wonderful, aren't they?
Everybody has a cell phone and a mortgage.
Yeah. And they're praying for $15 an hour when the minimum wage gets raised in California and in New York, and then you're going to see all those people put out of work because they're going to get to automation kiosk.
I think they're going to lose their jobs anyway. But I think that's so. Bob, what has been the highlight? Now I asked this of Roxanne.
The highlight is the Warriors won their 72nd game.
No, I don't want it. This is
beat San Antonio.
Keep on subject, Bob. This is not a sports program. This is a political. So, what was the political highlight of the week, Bob?
Political highlight of the week. To me, it was Obama saying that there's nothing in the emails about Hillary. And my question is, how the hell does he know?
He probably wrote them, actually.
He's got no idea. And the bottom line is Hillary should be thrown out there and then let Bernie run on the Democrat side. And whichever he makes it, let's have the debate.
Let's have the.
No.
Let's have the debate.
Crazy hairs, mad hairs.
It's all good.
I don't know what Roxanne's doing. Was that the squid of what was that bank called? The squid on the face of humanity, squeezing the laugh.
No, I'm holding my face while I'm punching.
Right. So to be serious. Right. So I'd like to ask. So let's start with Roxanne. How do you think the Trump campaign has done this week, and what does it? How would you classify it, and what do you think it needs to do?
Oh gosh, control. He needs to be more level-headed, maybe to get more help with information about what's going on. Sorry, Bob, I'm sorry. But do need a change, yeah, but not from Trump.
All right, then off we go to Mike. So, Mike, what do you think has been Trump this week, and what do you think? What advice would you give him for next week?
Well, I got to think. I got to again. I think he was very quiet last week. Yeah, to me, it was kind of quiet. I don't think there was any major faux pas on his part. I don't know if that was on purpose or if he's looking because he did. Was it the week before or so that some of his campaign people had quit on him? So I don't know if he's kind of weathering that storm, getting people in place. But as far as from just social media, I thought he was pretty quiet. And that may be the aspect of him sitting back and rethinking where he's going to go. I don't know when the next big Republican primary is.
Well, it's New York, isn't it?
New York.
All right, so for both? Okay. All right.
for both.
I don't know if they're both at the same time. So I think that, I mean, that would be a huge win for him. Just being, that's his home base, his home state.
Well, I agree with you, Mike. Before I go on to Bob and ask him this, hopefully, I'm sure I'm going to get a really successful.
Well, let me just jump in before Bob, because Bob's on a roll here. But if you saw my one college age student just jumped in, I got to get her back to school here. So I'm going to have to jump off here.
You're going to leave us? You're the only sane one.
I got to take her. Let me see if we can see that there. Where is it? Kent State University?
Yes, I do.
I got to take her back to school. She just walked in.
So how's it been, Mike? You sampled the full power of English sarcasm for at least a half hour.
Hey, Jonathan, I always liked Monty Python, so I love you.
All right, thank you, Mike. But all right, then, off you go. Off you do your service for your children. Much more important than this crap. To
you, New York.
All right.
New York.
Yep. Right. So, political Bob, how do you see this week in the world of Trump, and what does he have to do next week?
Well, he's learning the hard knocks of politics. The fact that it's not beanbag, it's basically it's blood and guts, and he's getting gutted a little bit. He got nailed last week about the abortion issue, or week before. So last week was a good week for him because he had Hillary with the subway. She couldn't get that thing going, and all the rest of it. And it's all about New York. It's all about New York right now. So he just needs to beat the hell out of everybody. And if he gets 54%, that's going to, and with Pennsylvania and everything else coming after that, he's going to be in good shape. But Bernie is the one that pisses me off because he's winning and he's not getting the delegates. They're cheating him.
Well, it's always been that way, isn't it? But would you before we discuss Trump a little bit more, would you agree with me that I just sense in the Hillary camp they're rattled? Do you sense that they're a little bit rattled now?
In which camp?
The Hillary.
Oh,
camp.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah.
I sense that they're rattled.
It's slipping through her fingers, but the mainstream media is still covering for her.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're not doing anything to go after the. Like I said, to me, the email issue is one of the big issues, and the fact she's really just incompetent. As Bernie says, she's not qualified, and I agree.
And that's an interesting point. I'd just like, before we go back to Trump, I'd just like to delve a little bit slightly deeper with that statement. Do you think as an actual, obviously she was the favourite under Obama and she totally lost it. Do you think as an actual electorate campaigner, do you sense that she's a little bit incompetent? Because, she's supposed to have this really fantastic machine. She's got the machine behind her. Do you sense that that's not really the fact?
No, she has the machine behind her. That's why the super delegates are going to her and not to Bernie. I mean, that's the machine. That's a Debbie Wasserman Schultz. That is a Democrat machine. They're trying to steal it fair and square from Bernie, just like they're trying to steal on the other side fair and square from Trump. And who knows? Maybe they'll put another candidate in on the Democrat side instead of Bernie, and another Republican in instead of either Cruz or Trump. Who knows? It's idiotic. It's denying the rights and the votes of the people.
Yeah, that seems to be a trend in these primaries and in this season, really. So, how do you see it, Roxanne? Control yourself, Bob. I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult, but do control yourself. How do you see the Democratic when it gets to the actual Congress? Do you think there's going to be a similar bust up as seems to be going to happen in the Republican?
Yeah, it might end up being that way after they get closer. See, I hate the way they count all these stupid things because he should be getting, since all these numbers, like I said, it just blows my mind how they count everything. He's won all these states and he's still behind. I don't understand that. Let him win some more.
some of the victories have been substantial, but it does seem to be a mixture of it's not winner take all, but also it includes these super candidates as well, doesn't it? These
if they're this
delegates.
close, come time they have not, they have to go into their little Coliseum or wherever, and they have to get down to where state by state or divided up, and then they don't come up with the number, then they gather in groups, and the groups, if you don't decide on this person, you have to go to this group. If you don't decide, and finally they cut down by counting people then who win the circles, right, by state. Isn't that how they do it?
I don't know. I don't even think they know, actually, Roxanne. I've come to the conclusion.
I think, the Democrats do it by group of numbers. They don't do it by states. They do it by
It's total delegates.
which group? Huh?
It's total delegates. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, it might come down to that, and hopefully because of the way the states are divided like that, maybe the more states he has.
No, it's about total delegates. And the bottom line is it doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes.
Yeah, you've said
Well,
that.
then he doesn't have a chance. That sucks.
Well, that's because
No, I wouldn't quite say that, because what I feel, Roxanne, is that if he wins in New York and then Pennsylvania, and then we move on to California, and he clearly has a string of major victories, and then at the convention, I personally actually feel that the echoes of '68 will return to the Democratic convention, and if enough people turn up at outside the convention, and there is a clear sign that there's hundreds of thousands of people outside that convention, that might change their attitude slightly. I'd like to ask Bob.
They don't care about the wills of people. The will of the people's got nothing to do with it. It's about the will of those who are in charge. The establishment's going to do it on Republican side and Democrat side.
Well, actually, the prospect of actually surviving getting out of the convention in one piece might actually have some calming effect on their arrogance. Actually, Bob. But I would like to ask you, Bob, of the two if Mr. Trump does manage to get the nomination of the two Democratic candidates, what do you think is the one that he fears the most?
Bernie Sanders. Everybody loves Santa Claus.
He does look at it.
Everybody does. He's going to give you everything you want. The tree, the lights, the presents. I love Santa Claus. It'll be Bernie be the hardest one.
Yeah, you actually, yes. So do you actually think if it was Hillary, he does stand a really good and he is the candidate for the Republican Party, he does stand a chance of beating her?
Well, his chances are 1 out of 2 just being a horse's ass. He's 1 out of 2, but I think that he stands a better chance against Hillary than he does against than Bernie. Because I said Bernie really is offering a lot of things to a lot of people. And, that's a good way to, I hate to say good way to purchase votes. That's what most politicians do. I mean, the congressional candidates, the bottom line is who brings home the bacon.
Right. Yep. So I'd just like to.
There are any Muslims out there who are offended. Who brings home the meat? I don't care. Whoever brings it home, that's all.
Try and keep it civil, Bob. I know it's difficult. Roxanne, as a woman voter, of the surveys I've seen, that one of the biggest areas that Mr. Trump has problems with is the female voter. What does he? You said earlier on that you weren't very attracted to any of the candidates. Is there anything that Mr. Trump could do that might influence you maybe to vote for him? And what does he have to do?
Not blow it top off his head. Be more sensible, level-headed.
What can you give some examples of what? Obviously, but they're very broad statements. Are there any specifics which you need him to model? You would like a statement from him that could influence you.
Oh, a statement.
No, is there anything?
He makes a lot of stupid ones, though. I mean,
I'm trying to pin you down here, but I just get the feeling you're not.
You're not a Mr.
Trump fan. I get you.
I like Megyn Kelly. That's what.
I'm sorry. I mean, he really went bad low on my list when he talked about abortion. I mean, I'm not.
Was that a turning point for you?
Yeah, I'm not for abortion, but I mean, if there's something wrong with the child, if there could be something wrong with the mom, that's when I agree with it. But what in the world did he didn't even know what he was talking about when he said that they could face murder charges. What in the world would he even know?
Thanks for saying that now, Bob. Obviously you probably don't, but as a seasoned political observer, what was going through his mind when he came out with that statement? And is there anything he can do that can retrieve the situation with the female voter, Bob?
That question was asked by Chris Matthews about the hypothetical. If abortion is illegal, which means is it a crime? Should the woman be punished? Well, if picking your nose is illegal, should you be punished? It's illegal. It's the bottom line. It's illegal. It was a stupid question. Hypothetically, should have answered it. To me, the abortion's already gone to the Supreme Court. It's legal. So, and it's not about abortion anymore.
So, you did say that last week. What I'm trying to ask,
it hasn't changed.
What I'm trying to ask you, Bob, is what in political terms does he need to do to retrieve this situation?
He needs to keep pounding border security, jobs. Basically, he needs to continue to stand up for the police, because men or women, everybody wants to feel secure in their home. That's what it's all about. And so I think that's the number one issue for them, safety of their children, themselves, and their family and their property. Sorry about the cat. But they can't make anything that's going to, all of a sudden women are going to say, gee, he's a great guy. It's going to have to just be what he does over the next, 3, 4, 5 months to show the fact he's a good guy, and, what his priorities are, which are actually to keep people safe in their homes.
Is there any point of him trying to go back on this subject and say that he's made a slight mistake, or is he best to try and avoid the subject completely?
Avoid it completely. I mean, that's not an issue. Number one, I'm a pro-life guy, but I also believe the fact that it's a women's issue. It's not men. I'm never going to have an abortion. It's never going to be an issue for me. I think women should be the ones that talk about it and decide the issue. And like I said, it's right now, it's no longer about abortion. It's about a woman's right to choose. And so we've lost the debate of words. So it is what it is.
We have Dr. Corey joining us. Doctor.
Tell me the news. So you got a bad case of loving you.
He's tried. Let's see if he's Roxanne. So I'm of what you've observed, Bob. He's given up. Has there been anything that you've seen this week that we haven't touched so far that you thought that was interesting and gave you a further insight about how things are going in this contested period?
Well, I think Bernie had a good week. I really do. Like I said, he gets what's going on in New York and throughout the country. I mean, he has a different philosophy than me, but he's consistent and he's always on the same message. So you got to give him his dues. He's doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, do you feel? Oh, there we go. Hello,
Doctor. Tell me the
Doctor.
So, like Ray Lewis, for God's sake. Come on, Ray.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
So, Dr. Corey,
yes, sir.
What's your view about what we've been discussing? And is there any particular key point that you'd like to make?
Yeah, it's very important to know that, what's going on in the political system today is that people have gotten smarter. Kids have they're hackers now. Whoever is smart is a hacker. And people basically have to keep up with this whole cyber issue. There is people are smarter, so the security have gotten or have become more challenging. And now we have a whole global situation that at any point, at any time, at anywhere, there is this kind of candidates now we have in place to make sure that things are, we have our business running smoothly, we have our security running smoothly, and we have our, immigration systems across the world, because now we have a global economy. So it's a global immigration system that has to be harmonized as well.
Right.
So this is what the problem we have in hand.
So I get the feeling that in some way you're agreeing with Bob that immigration is a quite he's on the hard stuff as well. Is a quite important subject in the consciousness of the American voter.
Yeah, the American voter at this time has to consider that, there is no one is talking about the wall except Trump. No one.
Whoa.
No one. So if you're into construction or something, you want to hear Trump.
Making America great again. Yes.
Exactly. And the only way for a construction worker to make America great again, he has to make something big, and that's a Great Wall of Trump.
There you go.
I do like that. It's like the Great Wall of China, isn't it? So, Bob, I'd like to ask you, obviously, I've forgotten the name, is it the Boston Globe? It's been coming out with a lot of...
the parody headlines, isn't that the one?
Yeah, about Mr. Trump. What's your feelings been about that?
I think they're just really expressing their hatred for him. I think that's mainstream media. That's what they actually feel. They hate the guy. They want to be internationalists. They don't want to. They do not. This is not the put America first crowd. They don't give a crap about America. It's basically about their own pockets and what they put in there.
Yeah. So,
but Trump has gotten this far.
Oh, she's gone.
Oh,
such a good call.
But Trump has came out of this far because people hate him so much.
Well, somebody must love him, though, Dr.
Hate's a good emotion. It gets people out there to do things. It makes them do things that are right, makes them do things that are wrong. Like I said, logic doesn't always work because logic is a Republican brand. Emotion is a Democrat brand because they want to make you feel good. And the bottom line is 7.5 years of a Democrat in the White House. Things are worse for every community up and down the line.
I do agree with you. The only part I don't agree with you, Bob, is I really don't see Obama as a true Democrat. I see him as a corporate, just a corporate suit, basically. And I see Hillary as just an extension of Obama and another corporate suit. So that's where I slightly disagree with you. What would I like to ask you, Bob and Dr. Kouri, is that obviously for Trump to win a general election, he obviously in the Republican Party, he does have strong support. That support isn't in the, doesn't seem to be in the controlling core, but does have a lot of support. But to win an election, he has to get a bigger body of voters. He has to get into more independents and people that aren't so attracted to his present message. Can he do that, Bob? And for him to be able to do that, what does he have to do, Bob?
He needs to just continue selling the message, as you mentioned before. It's about jobs. What do we got going here?
I don't know. Is it you, Dr. Kouri? Have you got a lot of
it's not me. That's what I'm wondering. I thought maybe it's you, John.
No, it's not me. There's no traffic here.
I don't live on a freeway anymore, so that's not me. I don't know.
Don't know where
it's
that's
my
come
office
from.
here. Yeah.
All right.
I gave up my cardboard box. I moved back inside of a real building.
Go on, Bob.
Let's keep going on his message, the message of jobs. The Reagan Democrats will come back and support him. I think the African-American community, because he's speaking directly to quote-unquote blacks when he says about jobs. The inner city, most of the crime would be attributed to the fact...
It's your cat.
Not my cat. My cat's over sound asleep. Most of the lack of opportunity in the inner city can be erased if you find people or give them the opportunity to work and then put them in training programs. We need vocational education for those who are not brain surgeons or doctors like you two guys.
Yeah. So, Dr. Kouri, Dr. Kouri, how do you see, can Trump expand his support base?
Easily.
Well, can you tell me how?
Yeah, he's going to do it very easy, and he done it so far. And if fear can bring down the whole stock market, Trump can, with fear, get all the votes that are left. Okay? So he knows how to, he talks to the fears of people honestly, genuinely, and boldly.
And
And
what
the
did Democrats do?
reaction that he gets is votes.
Yeah, but I'll put it, Dr. Curry, that the past 2 weeks, kind of one of the wheels on the wagon seems to have fallen off the wagon a little bit, and Mr. Cruz seems to be a bit more effective. You've got any insight why, like I say, the metaphor that one of the wheels on the Trump bandwagon has fallen off? Would you agree with that, and why has that happened, Dr. Corey?
But that's just like if you watch the stock market, it's just like clockwork. What it does is that it exactly does what it has to do. In other words, we need some downtime in order for the big jump to happen. You hear me?
Yeah,
you hear me?
Better if you get that closer.
You hear me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that, this is just to entertain people till he gets the big one.
Mm-hmm.
This is like if you watch at the graphs of the stock market, it's never fails. The graphs get more and more, bigger based on at each month there is a certain similarities between the graphs over a decade. So he's doing the same thing. He's just, giving some downtime in order to motivate people and get people hopeful. And then he's going to come with his strong punch.
So I'd like to ask Bob, thanks for that, Dr. Curry. I think that was useful.
Uh-huh.
So, Bob, let's move on to Bernie. So, he's had 8 victories now. And do you feel that he's playing it quite well, or do you think he needs to step up his game and get a bit more aggressive with Hillary and her track record, or do you think he's playing it the best way he can?
I think he needs to be more aggressive. I mean, in a fight, only one person can be the aggressor, and it's always easier if you punch somebody first, watch them bleed, and you now have that advantage. And he needs to continue going after her, because if he doesn't, the super delegates are just going to eliminate any possibility of him winning the nomination. So I think that he has to be really.
I a little bit disagree with you, Robert, in a way that he needs to be more assertive than aggressive, because he's already have like an old grandpa type of a tone to him. Like the way he talks loud, it's just very annoying, his voice, He needs to kind of like be more assertive and just say what it has to say and just relax, like a very confident grandpa.
I disagree. I mean, just if you look at the rules for radicals, number one, you need to attack and you need to say things about the person, whether it's true or not.
Saying fine. That's okay.
You say a lie enough times, it becomes the truth.
What would ask Dr. Curry, have you been surprised that Mr. Sanders hasn't brought up her husband's track record economically and his presidency and the ending of that presidency? Or do you think the reason why he hasn't done that is that he fears how female voters would react? Does he feel like if he brings up here his husband's track record, that it would be seen as being vindictive towards her in a way as a woman?
Well, the only person that could be married to her husband is her. She has to, I mean, it takes two to tango. She's as like a mother F as her husband in a different way.
Yes, a bit, Bob. What do you? Hopefully, I wasn't waffling. Did you understand what I was trying to coherently say? Do you think that Mr. Sanders should bring up her Mr. Clinton's track record, and in some ways it is pretty dismal, and in some ways that she is still married, and I don't think she would be a serious candidate without being married to a former president. So how do you see that, and do you think he should do it a bit more?
Well, she's a serious candidate just because she was elected senator. She's had different opportunities, different jobs. She was Secretary of State. I think the fact that he's a habitual abuser of women, and the fact that she allows that to go without really doing it, the fact that she was one of his top defenders, I think women see through that, and they know exactly what he is. They know what his track record is, and you don't get accused of rape.
I'd like to ask you about that, Bob. Actually, I'm surprised the amount of women, older women, that I've seen that are really very strong supporters of Hillary, and they don't really mention her partner's track record. You got any insight why that is? Or is it just they choose to be blind?
Well, I think a lot of women, men and women, will vote for specific things, and they'd be voting for her to put the first woman in the White House. And so they're willing to put those other things aside. I mean, the Now Gang and the Organization of Women and the Planned Parenthood group, because of the fact her husband was a strong supporter of abortion, that's their one issue. That's their holy grail. It's about abortion, and it's about women getting. Who's got that train running through their damn thing?
It's not me.
You know what? I don't know if it's me, but I'm gonna get out and come back to see if it's me. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. You do that. Yeah, I'm sure it's Dr. Curry, Yeah, they've got silence here.
As Kristen said, it's not about abortion, it's about choice. And I agree. Republicans have lost the debate. Because,
come on, Christine, please join us. Come on, log in.
Come on.
We need another woman's insight to wrap this show up. Yes. And it would be great if you could join us. Come on, Christine.
Well, like I said, with women, it's about jobs. It's the exact same thing, especially there's more single parent households out there, making sure, quote unquote, pay equality. I'm one of these people, I don't believe you should pay someone more just because of the fact they're a certain sex or whatever. It should be on their qualifications,
Yeah, I think that noise is coming from you, Dr. Curry. Actually, I just heard a bit more of it. But I think it's your mic rubbing on your. I think it's a little bit that. Maybe.
I changed the.
Kristen, you're not informed either, so you would fit right in here. She's not well informed.
Well, it doesn't stop us, Christine. It certainly doesn't stop me. So please join us. You don't have, it is people's election. This is just points of view.
You don't have to be highly educated to be on this show. All you need to do is say something. Just keep your lips moving. That's all.
So, Dr. Curry, who do you think that Mr. Trump is going to be the candidate of the Republican, or do you think it's going to be a contentious convention and they're going to find some mechanism to remove him and get some other candidate?
Yeah, what I'd like to say about first before I answer this, the situation with the moral issues of Clinton's husband is that we didn't vote for him because he's a playboy. We voted for him because he's very influential. So that's it doesn't make a difference because he's still very successful. But in regards to Trump, and you know what, Clinton, he's still womanizing because he's such a Leo, the way he is. He's a suave, so. That's the way he is. But the morality that they're bringing up has got nothing to do with it because that's how, Clinton, Hillary Clinton.
No, actually, Dr. Curry, I was thinking more of his economical policies, signing that other crucial bills, the reforms, so-called reforms on, I'm losing my track, but those type of issues, rather than the womanizing, actually.
Yeah. Okay, the only thing with Clinton is that the Wall Street is written on their forehead. So if they anyone votes for them, they want Wall Street to go higher, and that's the only reason. Everyone has a different thing, one word on their forehead. With Trump, now that you asked, It's not Wall Street, but Trump wall.
The wall. That's his wall on his wall.
It's not Wall Street. It's Main Street. The bottom line is you look at the Democrats, and they've been bought and paid for by Wall Street.
Yeah.
And the only reason Wall Street's doing so well is because of the fact the environment for work and for profit out there is so lousy. That's the only place you can make money. Your interest rates in the bank are what?
Yeah, but Wall Street is not just about Americans investing. This is the whole rich people around the world investing into the Wall Street. So
they're investing into Panama, for God's sake. If you're going to go there, that's where they're investing.
Okay.
All the offshore.
Especially Iceland.
Yeah. But
we haven't even talked about the Americans.
But Wall Street must succeed. It must succeed, and they do whatever to keep it going up, no matter what.
That's what happened with the banks. They didn't want the banks were too big to fail, and we're running right into the same housing thing all over again. We're putting unqualified people into home loans, and it's going to collapse again. It just is, and because to me, this crony capitalism and Obama is the absolute worst of the worst of the worst. And you look at Hillary saying, "Well, there's nothing in the emails." Well, the bottom line is she was selling access into these other countries, mostly the Arab states. And if she were to get elected president, trust me, they got a direct call right in there.
But we got two choices. Number one is that with Trump, no matter if he's gonna be doing whatever he's doing with his, he's gonna get off with his wall. I mean, that's the only thing that turns him on. Number two, for Hillary, I mean, even though, in other words, Trump becomes a president, is good for making America great again. That means we're gonna make Wall Street great again.
Yeah.
And number two with Hillary is again about Wall Street. So these two definitely gonna one of them gonna become president based on the success of the Wall Street.
So Bob, it's getting close. When do you expect Mr. Trump and Ted Cruz to announce who their vice presidents are going to be?
It's not going to happen. Not until convention. They're not. They're going to put some people out there who I may do this, but you're not going to pick your second guy because the bottom line is, if he gets vetted and there's something wrong with him, and trust me, everybody's got something in their closet. And this is why I wanted to ask the doctor. Hey, doctor, do you believe that we should have strong borders? Yes or no?
Me?
Yeah. Do we believe should we have strong borders?
Based on let me tell you. No. We gotta think. We gotta think about where the millennials are. In other words, what's up to date information? The up to date information is that we have the technology that we can make walls that are not like brick anymore. So that means they can make the wall even more dangerous, more strong, 10 times more sensitive than any brick wall. So what I'm trying to put two and two together with my psychicness, I can tell you that definitely we're going to have a wall, no matter what. No matter which president, we're going to have a wall.
Well, the most important thing is if you have a wall or don't have a wall is you have immigration laws where you send the people back if they come in here illegally. You don't just give them a free pass and say, we'll see you down the road. And unfortunately, that's what's happening. These people are just coming into our system. And now they're even talking about the president saying illegals should have health care benefits.
But most likely, no matter what goes on, because Trump has proposed this great deal with the wall, whether anyone else becomes a president, his proposal will go through, and we're going to definitely have a wall. That's just my political projection.
Well, my projection is the only one that's going to stand and say a wall actually has to be done would be Trump here, Cruz here, Hillary, and the rest of the Democrats don't want a damn wall. They want the votes. Yeah, and if there's illegals in, it's all about getting the votes.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I get your point.
I'd like to ask you, Bob. Obviously, it's not been talked about, but we have got some candidates. We have got some candidates here, apart from Ted Cruz, that diplomatically are quite old. Am I correct in saying that Mr. Trump is 69 or 70? We got Bernie Sanders, who's 75. And am I correct to say that here he's around 69? So especially with Bernie, do you think? I think it's quite crucial that when he gets to the convention that he has a strong vice president because of his age. And do you think that Elizabeth Warren can be persuaded to be his vice president candidate?
She would be the first Indian on the ballot.
Yeah, but I mean in political terms, Bill.
In political terms,
she's the darling of the progressive. No,
he doesn't bring anything. She's even more left than he is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to go more to the right to bring in some people that say, "Well, gee, maybe I could see if this person, a younger person, mid 40s, early 50s, but we need a newer generation."
But somebody more from the middle of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You know, I worked in many mental lockup facilities to intern and also do psychotherapy.
Oh, you're in the right place in.
Must have been like going to a Democrat convention.
Yeah. So the thing is with Bernie Sanders, it's not about just his physical stamina or his emotional well-being, but for that age, most people have to be on some kind of either Viagra or maybe some type of steroids or some kind of magic pill to for him to or 24-hour caffeine to be like up like that and sharp like that. I don't know about you guys, but for his age, he's being like that. He's not a human.
Well, I wouldn't quite go as far as you've just gone, but I do think the age question, especially if he does become the candidate, I think
he could be an extraterrestrial or something.
Yeah, I think the quality of the vice president becomes rather important because of his age, So, and definitely also in political terms, I would be surprised if Bernie would go for a second term. He would be just entering his 80s, and I would imagine that he would only be a one-term presidency. So that choice of vice president in political...
Well, even now, how taxing it is when I go from Los Angeles to New York and back. I'm like I need a few days to adjust. I mean, these people are constantly going around and campaigning. I mean, it doesn't matter if they have a comfortable jet or not. But
maybe Bernie could have a program and get you some Viagra so you could stay as powerful as he is.
Now, I just got
whatever helps.
Yeah, what I would like to do, gentlemen, is ask Bob one question and then have a final question about what you might see happening next week. So, but before that final question, Bob, obviously Mr. Trump's talked about better trade deals, tariffs of around 30 to 35%, getting American manufacturers to come back to America. But he hasn't really talked much about reforming the banking system, cutting back on Wall Street, its worst excesses. Do you think there would be any of that, or is that a part of that he's going to stay away from, basically?
Never underestimate the stupidity of the American people. Why should you talk about a serious issue when you could talk about just basically make statements that say we're going to make America great again? You don't need to say anything specific, and that says all the message. So I don't think he'll ever address anything specific like that because nobody cares.
Because we have Disneyland here.
I'll give up. I'm trying to have serious discussion.
No, but he's 100% right.
Yeah,
like I said, the bottom line is the American people don't give a damn about that. They really do not. They care about kitchen table issues. They want a job. They want to be able to put food on the table. They're hoping to have a somewhat safe society and that their children will have an opportunity to succeed like they have. That's what it's all about.
I want my ribs on the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So to finish up, got any predictions for next week, Bob? What do you see happening next week at all?
It'll be the same back and forth. I think Hillary's going to have the more difficult time next week. I think Bernie's going to surge. I really do. I think Bernie's finally getting to the point where he realizes that no matter what he does, he cannot win this election, the Democrat Party, the way the rules are set up. He's going to have to get in there and blow it up. The same thing with Trump. And why?
I disagree.
The why people supporting Cruz is they do not want to see Trump there, so they want to drive Trump's numbers down. So the establishment supporting Cruz right now. When we get to the convention, they'll stab him in the back, just like they'll stab Trump in the back. Exactly.
So, Dr. Curry, what do you see happening next week?
Yeah, I see next week. Yeah, I see next week that Bernie is going to. Of course, I agree with Robert. He's going to try to come strong, but Hillary is going to say, you know what, this guy is looking at me funny. And he's gonna put one of those fast ones. I'm telling you, she's gonna play being a lady, a smart lady, and she's gonna show Bernie that no matter what the shit he says, she's still at the top, no matter what. And none of these people they're gonna love Hillary no matter what.
Interesting point of view, Dr. Curry. I actually agree with Bob. Actually,
what?
I actually, it's obvious to me that the leadership of the Republican Party are using Cruz, but they have no love for him. And as soon as his usefulness comes to the end, they will stab him in the back at the convention almost straight away. I also, this has been a week where I agree with Bob. I also agree with him when it comes to the Democratic Party, and I do disagree with you, Dr. Curry, is that I think he's on his 8th victory. I do actually believe that he is going to win New York, and it will cause such a implosion of the Hillary campaign that she will not be able to recover. When it comes to the actual convention, I think they still will try and attempt to steal it from Mr. Sanders. And when that happens, I don't think anybody can say what's going to happen. I think it's going to be some of the most exciting politics that you've seen in 40 years. So the wizard has rejoined us. What does the wizard think?
I just want to say that I listened coming in on the iPhone. Just listened to it, and the sound was excellent, except for Dr. Corey. We're getting a little sound coming in, but prior to that, it was absolutely excellent. So you guys did a great job, Jonathan. Good job with the show at the first part. But it was really nice. It was just like radio in the car with the Bluetooth and the iPhone. It was unbelievable. Another thing too, if you shut off the screen, it cuts down just the bandwidth as far as I can see, just to the sound. So it was just amazing. I think the future of some of this technology is going to be that you have just these micro radio stations, followers. Now, if we had a autoresponder set up, which I could do, I could send it out to a lot of people who are following or want to listen to the show. I did call a couple of people and said, "Hey, listen to the show." Like Nick, I called Dr. Nicholas Hernandez, and I didn't send out an email flash to everybody either. But it's good. I like this technology. Hey, let me say something real fast. 2 seconds, I'll get off. I'm gonna let you guys finish up.
Well, no, you're going to finish up. I've got to go.
No, let me just say it real fast. I'm talking about. We'll finish up. I've been, Cruz was not my first choice by far. It was Scott Walker, and also I want Rand Paul. And those are the two I liked early on, and they both dropped off. So Cruz is left. I didn't like some of the things that Trump said early on, especially on his terrorism, things like that. But let me tell you what, he's making a lot of sense. And a lot of my classmates right now are in charge of NATO, charge of CENTCOM, and charge of a lot of different things. But Trump is making a lot of sense with his approach on NATO. And he's got more plans than anyone else out there if you really start paying attention. He's the only one really talking about immigration and stopping the walls and doing the things that need to be done. And what he's done lately, if you read some of his positions, got a chance in Las Vegas, is he has said, look, to Mexico, he said, we're going to cut off. We can use trade as a bargaining chip to make sure you enforce that people don't penetrate our border. That he's doing things that other politicians aren't doing. And he's doing stuff that the both the Republicans and the Democrat oligarchy aren't doing. So I think he's doing two things. Both his policy on borders is starting to have some real meat to it and common sense. And his approach on NATO and terrorism, the idea of we need something different than NATO. We need to combine NATO and an anti-terrorist thing worldwide. And the other thing he brought up, which I think is critical, the United States paid 72%, and this is 100% accurate, 70% of the overall cost for NATO. 72%. When you count in our troop movements and all that stuff, it's 72%. And there's no way, well, I think there's 30 some odd countries in NATO now, that we should pay 72% of NATO. I mean, the world, the European countries who talk about their free healthcare and all the stuff that they do, they need to pay their own way, instead of the United States accumulating debt and us suffering. But it's a tough situation, but I think he's actually making sense because he's going to.
Bill has become a Trumpster.
No, I still haven't come out and endorsed Trump, but I like his two policies there. They're starting to come out. So you got to say there's some credibility there. Yeah.
Don't you think we're going to have the wall?
Oh, the wall is fine.
50 feet high.
I worked on the wall. And when I was a civil engineer in the Air National Guard, I went down and worked on the wall.
I'm going to leave and you can finish it.
Let me tell you something.
I'm a bit blabbed out, Bill.
I'm going to get off to. Let me say something about the wall real fast. I worked on the first 60 miles of the wall coming from San Diego over. And so I've watched it ever since. I was in the Air National Guard. We do civil engineering work down there. And the wall actually absolutely has proven work that first 60 miles. They basically went around the wall, though. But it worked and protected the property values down in South San Diego. And people talk about it all the time. So
these walls are very easy to make. It's not like a brick wall anymore.
The way that they put it, it was like the first wall was terrible. It was put up with mat that you use for aircraft landing strips. Hey, I'm going to get off, but you guys sounded great.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah,
I got to go too. My wife's expecting.
Yeah. Bob, I need some help tonight. I need to talk to you on the phone for a couple of minutes. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I do want to touch bases with you real fast on those talking points. I need to get at least 10 minutes up on Meet the Voter on the podcast, and I'll put this up in part of it too.
I have no thoughts right now at the talking points. I said I've got to go myself and run off and take care of Mama. So
it only takes a second.
Well, if you can't, Bill, give me a call tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow afternoon we can see if we make.
No, I need to get the show up. Okay, I'll do it. Tomorrow morning. You said you're open, right?
Yeah, but give me till 9 o'clock. So I'm heading off.
After 9, I'll give you a call at 9. That'll work. Hey, everybody, thank you up there. Really enjoyed listening to this coming in.
Warriors 72-9.
Hey,
no stopping them now.
And Bob, thanks for coming up and doing the show. Get more people qualified, and you're not bad. You sound actually pretty good with that condensing mic. So.
Hey, listen, made in America, babe. I'm all about American.
Okay, I'm going to
put America back to work. Make America great again.
Guys.
You Trumper.
Good show, team.
Okay, brother.
All right, take care. And thanks, everybody. I spelled team wrong. I don't have my glasses on. Bob, let me hit you. I could have shot you out. Let me shoot. Hey, thanks. Good seeing you up there. I didn't have my glasses. I know. Who's up there? I saw Claude. I could recognize Claude. Let's see. Dakota. Good to see you. And Christine. Hey, Christine and myself. Anyway, take care.